Aye, shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. I'm back. Been a bad week really. I went to a pool party on Monday and I've been sick ever since. So if I sound a bit rough or I cough in the video, that's why. I've had a touch of man flu, but I think I'm past it now. Going to do another financial video, which I know seems to upset some of my subscribers. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Everyone talks about money. Well, because I think people are interested and I think it's important. Now, I'm not going to give any financial advice because I'm not in a position to do so, because I'm not great at money. But what I am going to talk about is a rule of thumb and the principle that I operate on and why I think it should work this way and why I would strongly suggest that you do the same thing, or certainly consider it from this perspective. How much do you need to retire comfortably in Asia or Latin America or wherever you choose to retire to? What I would say is the amount you need is the same amount you need to live or retire comfortably in your home country, as a rule of thumb. Now, why do I say that? I say that because if you take the UK, for example, if you can work out what you could live relatively comfortably on in the UK, then you're guaranteed that you can live very comfortably in the Philippines, because the Philippines is considerably cheaper than it is in the UK. Now, a lot of people will turn around and say, no doubt, that, well, you don't need that much to live in the Philippines. But the point is, how long are you going to live in the Philippines? And the answer is, you don't know. Nobody knows what life's going to throw at them. Now, I've been meaning to make this video for quite a while, but what prompted me into doing it was I was watching a video this week, channel I've watched for a while, a chap called Ed Sweeney. He's got a channel called Steady Eddie Travels, and he's been travelling around Asia and parts of Europe for years. I've been watching him about 2 or 3 years now, and he recently decided to retire to Asia, I believe to Thailand. Because to be honest with you, I've not watched him for a few months, but the last 2 videos I saw of his, he said he'd been living in Thailand for 4.5 months. But then last week he did a video and he'd had a stroke, or he thought he had a stroke. He'd gone to one of the hospitals in Pattaya. They told him that they thought he'd had a stroke. But in his last video, he's had they think it might not be a stroke. He's got a red mass on his brain, which they think might be cancer. They're not quite sure what it is, but either way, it's not good. And because of that, he has decided to go back to the UK and get treatment on the NHS. Now, this is very sad news. I mean, terrible that's happened. It was upsetting to see the video. I hope things work out for him. Keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully he'll make some videos when he goes back and he'll let people know. I'm amazed he's done videos this week, because if I got news like that, I don't know if I'd still be YouTubing. So, fair play to him for doing that. But I doubt you watch this, Eddie, but if you do, best of luck to you, mate. But the point is, this is why I'm saying to you, when you plan your finances, plan what it would cost you to live in your home country. Because you never know what's going to happen. If you build your finances around living on $1,000 a month in the Philippines, then you can do that. You will see lots of videos, telling you that you can do that, and you can lead a comfortable life, or some will say a great life, some will say a basic life, but it's doable. But it's not doable in the UK. So what happens if you get sick? Me, for example, I've got insurance. I'll always have insurance. But if I get ill, like now I've got travel insurance. I don't have medical insurance because I work on the basis that if I have a terrible accident over here, I need to be covered. But if I get, God forbid, cancer or something like that, I'm going back to the UK for treatment. You know, that's where I'll go. I'm not staying in the Philippines for that. So again, it depends which country you come from. But if you're from a European country, the majority of European countries have free healthcare. I know it might be different in America where you've got private insurance. I don't know how that works. But even if you take the medical side out of it, you never know how things are going to go in whichever country you move to. There could be a war. You could get in a terrible relationship. You don't know. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're planning financially how much it costs to live in that country, I think you're doing it the wrong way. I think you've got to plan for what if it goes wrong? You know, what do you do then? That's why I often see a lot of people, they say they've sold up and they've moved away, they've sold everything, they moved to the Philippines. And I always think, why? Why have you sold up and done everything to move to the Philippines? I mean, I know this video is probably going to piss some people off because not everyone's in the same position. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've reached 65 years old or 70 years of age and you don't want, then your pension is your pension. Okay, I'm aiming this video at people who are looking at retiring young. You know, people are looking to get out of the rat race, what they call it, FIRE. You know, the term for it now. You know, you're thinking, well, I want to stop working as soon as possible. How much money do I need to accumulate before I can do that? Well, if you're one of those people, that's my advice to you. Work out what you need to live in your home country. Not a fantastic life, not a luxury life. You know, I'm not saying, you know, work, you know, the full thing so you can have a marvellous life in your home country. Because if you can afford to have a marvellous life in your home country, you're probably not thinking about, moving overseas to become an expat. But ask yourself before you sell everything up, is it not better to keep your property in the UK or your property in America? You know, why do you need to build, somewhere in the Philippines? Because you could lose that just like that. I know a lot of people in Thailand who bought condos and things like that, and it works well for them while they're there, and they save money on rent. I mean, I'm not saying don't do it, but they're bloody hard to sell. Bloody hard to sell. For me, if it was a choice between selling my place in the UK and buying a place in somewhere like Pattaya, or keeping my place in the UK, renting it out and using the rent to subsidise my place in Pattaya, that's what I do. That's the way I've always looked at things. I can't see that ever changing. I would always have, or always intend to have, at least one property in the UK. And when I do all my calculations, when I look at going forward, I think, right, could I afford to go back and live in the UK? And if ever there comes a time where I don't think I can afford to go back and live in the UK, then that's when I start thinking about working again or doing something. Because to me, it doesn't make any sense to put all your eggs in one basket. You have to have a contingency plan for when things go wrong, particularly as you get older. Because a lot of people keep telling me when I say I've got medical insurance and that, you have to self-insure when you get older. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Self-insure how much? That's how I would do it. That's how you calculate it. You sit down and you think, right, what's your state pension? Always try and get your state pension, whichever country you're in, up to the maximum. You'll never get a better return. Again, I'm not giving financial advice, I'm not recommending anything, I'm no expert. But trust me, certainly in European countries, the return you will get from your state pension will be considerably better than you'll get from any private pension scheme you've got now. I know it didn't used to be that way in the UK, the old employers' pensions used to be fantastic, but they have diminished greatly going forward. So if you're thinking about retiring early, think about the future. Don't think about the now. I mean, obviously you want to enjoy yourself and you want to have a fantastic life. That's why I retired. So that's why I came over here. I didn't want to work the whole of my life and missed my best years when I thought I could be doing things and travelling around the world. But equally, certainly don't want to be regretting that when I'm in my 60s and 70s or 80s, you know, stuck in the UK because I've had to come back because of illness, struggling to get by on a state pension. And that can happen if you build your whole life around revolving around surviving on $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month. That gives you no leeway whatsoever for when something goes wrong. You know, people, we're all living older these days. We're all living longer, or touch wood. I mean, not everyone is, but you know, life expectancies are increasing. So you've got to consider that. You've got to consider that. Which, changing the subject slightly, which makes me wonder why so many people want to retire so young in the sense of stopping working. Because to me, it's never too late to keep saving. It's never too late to be, doing a little bit of work on the side, bringing your income in. I mean, if I was a 45-year-old, 50-year-old who was retiring today, well, I'm a 52-year-old, but I've not worked for a long time. But if I was around that age group and I'm looking at coming to Thailand or Asia, somewhere like that, I would look at it, right, what do I need to live in the UK? In terms of, am I covered in terms of pension? Am I covered in rental costs? Am I covered if I have to go back and live there? Can I do it? Can I survive? And if the answer is yes, when you do the calculations, then I would jump. But when I got to that country, I'd start to think, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit more money? I think I'd start looking to doing some stuff online and that, because I mean, as they used to say in the old Tesco's adverts, every little helps. What you don't want to be, what terrifies me is poverty in old age. I mean, I'm 52 now. If I had to work again, it wouldn't be the end of the world. There are some times when I think I should, because I get bored at times, but I'm lazy. But it may well be in a couple of years' time, I might go back to the UK and work for a year or something. Or it may well be, I mean, I'm thinking about doing something, over here, because I do worry about how long I'm going to live and, how much money you need for the future. But my calculations, everything that I've ever done, works on the basis of being secure, having a good standard of living wherever I am, having the funds to cover me in an emergency, but always having the option of going back to the UK if something terrible happens. Because it's important. You've got to have a plan B. You've got to have a plan B. You don't want to be, I mean, can you imagine, if you can't afford to go home? And unfortunately, you see that. I saw that a lot in Pattaya. There were people, I mean, I've told the story about Kevin, a friend of mine, and my mate Steve, who died in the Philippines. A lot of people, it's okay living in the now. I think living in the now is a great thing, but it's also incredibly important to plan for the future. Because, I don't know what more to say really. Just when you're doing your calculations, a short but sweet video this, but people keep asking me, how much do you need to live in the Philippines? How much do you need to live comfortably in Thailand? Depends on your lifestyle. Depends on your lifestyle, depends on what you want to do. How long's a piece of string? There is no answer to that. But if you ask me the question, how much do you need to retire early and move to the Philippines, or to move to the Philippines in Asia, as a rule of thumb, work out what you would need to live in your home country. If you've got enough to live in your home country, and I don't mean a fantastic standard of living. I mean, if I have to go back to the UK in later life, I'm not going to be living a particularly lavish lifestyle. I'll have my state pension, I'll have my Air Force pension, which is not, which is not a lot, and I'll have a couple of private pensions. I certainly won't be living in a massive house. I certainly won't be, driving around in flash cars. But, I will have enough to, live okay, and, and if I've got, need to have a hospital cancer treatment or something like that, touch wood, I'll have enough to be able to do that. Really hope it never happens. Really hope it never happens. But that's what I plan for. That's why I will always plan to keep at least one property in the UK until the day I die, because that will always be my plan B. And if I'm in a relationship at that stage, if I've got a kid or or anything like that, I've got someone to leave the house to. That will be there. That will be my gift to them. So yeah, don't necessarily be so quick to sell up, jump ship, and move to another country, because it's so easy to be in the mindset that, well, I'm going to make it work, but you can't always make it work. There was a guy on a channel, I can't remember what his name was, but I used to really like the channel Bald and Bankrupt, and there was an American guy, Johnny someone I think it was, on there. He was an American guy, and I can't remember his name, and he was buying property all around Ukraine. I remember at the time thinking, that's a bit risky, because he was buying them in all sorts of different towns, and I guess you wonder when you see something like that, I think, well, maybe I should be buying property overseas, because I would never, I don't at this stage intend to do any property in the Thailand or the Philippines or any Asian country where you can't own the land, because I think I'm too young. I mean, I'm realistic. I'm 52. I mean, who knows? I could be dead next year. You never know what's going to come around the corner. But I always base my calculations on around living to be about 80, if I'm lucky. Just because that's what a lot of the males in my family have died around the age. My grandfather died, I think, 82. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all that, but 80 seems to be 81, 82, etc. So the way I look at it, when I get to 60, I might think about leasing land on a 30-year lease, 70, 80, 90. I'm not going to be here. I don't expect to be around when I'm 90. But at 52, built land tomorrow, well, there is a chance in 30 years' time I still could be here. And the last thing I want to do is get kicked out in my old age. So I don't consider land investments or property investments at this stage in my life in places where you can't own land, etc. But in Europe, somewhere like that, where you can, you've got legal rights, and then I might have done. But as I say, coming back to Johnny in Ukraine, he bought these apartments. I saw him buy at least 3 or 4 of these apartments in different cities in Ukraine, and then look what happened. The Russians invaded. And I don't know if any of the apartments have been blown up or what's happened, but I can guarantee you their value's decreased. And he was buying all over Ukraine, so they're probably gone. Certainly he's not going to be selling them anytime soon. He's not going to be renting them. I mean, I don't know. So the point is, you've got to be careful. Now, he's a guy, if you believe the videos, he wasn't short of money. That's how he could afford to do it. The way he's talking, he's got investments in other parts of the world, so I'm sure he'll be all right. He'll be able to, chalk that off to a commercial error. But and if you can do that, no problem at all. Fantastic to you. But if you can't, and you're selling your one property that you own in your home country, going to a new country, and let's face it, I mean, the West ain't. I'm not saying the West is great, but a lot of the countries in Asia, they're not as stable as politically as they are in most Western countries. Although, given what's gone in Ukraine now, you could say is any European country safe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just not a risk taker. But whenever I see the headline on a video, when it says I've sold everything and I've moved abroad and I've done this and that, I think, really, is that a good move? And some people might have to. As I say, I mean, maybe that's the only way you can do it. When you get to that age, you're a big boy. Make your own decisions. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, it's the way I look at it. You might be desperately unhappy in your home country. You might decide, if you get sick or whatever, you don't want to have treatment. You don't want to go back. Each to their own. All I do in my videos is just give my observations on things. And as I say, whenever I see in these videos, I sold up, moved abroad, I think, that sounds a bit risky to me. But then I think that whenever I see people, they bought land and built a house, I think, oh. But to be fair, since I've been in the Philippines, I haven't met many, if any, people who've built property and regretted it. Now that's not to say that they won't at some stage in the future. Just saying, it's easy when you watch all the YouTube videos and you hear all the sad stories to think, never do that, never going to do that, because it always turns to shit. The reality is I haven't met many people who have. Doesn't mean it doesn't, but as I say, for me, not an option until I'm at least 60. Not an option. Be it here or be it in Thailand. I'd never buy an apartment or a condo in any of these places because I don't think you can sell them afterwards. There's an appeal in not, in not having to pay rent, but it just seems to be so difficult to sell. And the ones over here in the Philippines are so small. I wouldn't. Not for me. Anyway, I digress. So that was the purpose of the video, really. Because I keep seeing these videos. How much do you need to live comfortably in this country? How much do you need comfortably in that country? And I think, well, if someone is basing their whole finances around achieving that amount, achieving that $1,500 or that $2,000 mark, and they think once they've reached that mark, then that's them sorted, they'll be good to go. Be very careful of that way of thinking. Be very wary of that way of thinking, because it'd be very easy to come unstuck. And as I say, do you really want to, in later years, be scrambling around, worrying about your finances? I know I certainly don't. That's the last thing I want. Anyway, let me know what you think. Some countries will be different. Some countries, I know healthcare isn't. Most European countries, it's either free or affordable. In the UK, as long as you're still paying your taxes, you're entitled to NHS, treatment, and it's free. It's not necessarily the best in the world, but I would certainly intend to go home and get treatment as opposed to working off the old insurance. And once you've got an illness like that, your premiums are going to go up, so it's okay saying 1 year you might be in Thailand and you're going to live the year. The point is, you never know what's going to happen. You never know if a government's going to change, etc., etc. Whether you're going to get kicked out, Got a plan for the rainy day, because if you plan for the rainy day, you can have a great life. You know what I'm saying to you? So, for example, if you work on, having £2,000 a month because that's what you need to live in the UK, you've decided to live comfortably, and you never have to come back to the UK, well, fantastic, because you're going to have an amazing lifestyle on £2,000 a month in the Philippines or in Thailand. So, for me, there's no loser. Okay? But again, I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just saying, when you work on your calculations and you're thinking about retiring early and you aim for your target, just stop and think, is that target realistic? Why not up the target a little bit? Work a bit longer and achieve that, because the benefits in the long run, I think, far outweigh the cons. But hey, depends on you. If you're desperately unhappy, if you hate your job, you're depressed, you can't stand anymore, all right, we'll jump ship and come over here, get some sunshine and smile. You know what I mean? I say, take everything I say with a pinch of salt. Just my view on the world. Hopefully you found the video useful. If you did, smash the like button. If you didn't, don't smash the like button. Tell me in the comments why you disagree. If you haven't subscribed, it'd be great if you did. And Ed Sweeney, if you ever watch this video or whatever you do, good luck, mate. I hope you overcome this illness, and best of luck to you, mate. Anyway, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, stay safe, be lucky.